And welcome to the Amistar Foundation's Parent Empowerment Forum. This is our May Parent Empowerment Forum, and as you know, we've been able to monthly provide empowerment forums where we're face to face with parents and students to provide information, because we know that information brings knowledge and knowledge is power. However, due to the COVID-19 experience, we're having to try something new. So we are now on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, still able to come on the social media platforms to provide you with information. Tonight, our moderator, Mr. Hank Rogers, will provide information and will share with you everything that you will need in order to enjoy tonight's forum and to be participants in tonight's forum. And right now, I will turn everything over to Mr. Hank Rogers.
Thank you, Ms. Burney. My first question before we begin to our guests, Mr. Wright, Dr. Davis, and Ms. Dunlap, what gives you hope? Has there been a quote or a book you have turned to during this time? Mr. Wright, would you take that first?
Sure, I'll take that first. And thinking about that question, what really gives me hope just in the context of our students struggling with the missing of important transition things such as fifth grade trips or seniors missing out on those types of things, such as prom and adjusted commencements. I really find hope in the work that I see our teachers doing. I get to see it daily, every day with my own students. I have 2 children in elementary school in Duval County Public Schools, and just how committed they are to making Duval Homeworld work for our students. They drive by the house and check on them or bring books, and just the amount of effort that the teachers have put into making this work for our students. I can only hope that all of our students across Duval County have the same types of teachers that my students have. And I just am really proud of the work that the teachers have put into it, that I'm seeing every day while my children work next to me at home, which creates its own challenges, but certainly grateful for that. And I know there's challenges across the district, and we're just in uncharted territory. But I know that the teachers and their love for our children are really doing all that they can, and I really see it daily and appreciate it. Dr. Davis, I think you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. I think what gives me hope is being able to press through on my own with a lot of the things that we don't have access to, and then pouring that into my own family and to the kids that I interact with through Gear Up. As my team meets, especially when we first, at the onset of the stay-at-home orders, we were really trying to recreate the face-to-face activities in a virtual format. And so over these last 10 weeks, being able to see our students' response to that, and even the teachers' creativity with some of the things that pre-COVID we didn't think that we would be able to pull off, like tutoring online or virtual college tours, or being able to have a mentoring session, virtual chat and choose. So I think amidst a lot of the things that we are without, I feel as though as a community, we're coming together and finding creative ways to still be able to do those things in a modified format, but it just shows our grit, our stamina. And I'm just hoping that as we continue to reach these small milestones, reaching the end of the school year and even executing our virtual summer camps, that it will continue to sustain students and show them all of the things that they can still do despite our need to stay at home to be safe.
So for me, what gives me hope is a sense of community. You all, when COVID first happened, this was so scary for all of us. We didn't have a clue what was happening. And so community jumped in very fast, very quickly, and we all did what we had to do, not just the school communities and our leader, Dr. Green, for the school district, our teachers, everybody for DCPS, but also our city officials, our faith-based partners, just a sense of community. We all did what we had to do, and we did it rather quickly. And now for so many of our students, they have found at this point in the school year, I think a little fatigue in all of what we're doing with the at-home learning and everything, but I'm looking forward to continuing this for those of them that'll be participating in summer activities and those type of things, because I know it's going to be important. You know, I think at some point we're all ready for a little bit of interaction with one another. And right now we're making the best of what we have with these platforms. And so I think what gives me hope is a sense of community. We're all just able to stay connected in some type of way and provide the support and love that we all need to get through this.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ms. Dunlap. Again, to our parents, if you would, please sign in on Facebook in the status or in the comment section, and again on Instagram in the bio section. We have received quite a bit of questions as it relates to this school year and closing out the school year that we want to get our panelists to address for us. First, let me start with Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis, can you explain what is Gear Up? What does Gear Up stand for, and its mission in Duval County Public Schools at this time?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rogers. So Gear Up stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs. It is a federal grant that our district was awarded in 2017 for the students that were 7th graders at that time in 10 of our middle schools. Currently, the students are in 9th grade, and they are sitting in 7 high schools: Rains, Ribault, Lee, Westside, Inglewood, Terry Parker, and First Coast. And this particular cohort, this set of 9th graders, are receiving services from 4 partners: FSCJ, University of North Florida, Communities in Schools, and the I'm a Star Foundation. And so there are grant activities that support this cohort of students in areas such as mentoring, tutoring, college tours, academics, SAT, ACT prep, all of the supports and services that would assist them with promoting, graduating, and then going on to a post-secondary option. So the whole premise of Gear Up is to assist and ensure, along with the school and the district, the schools that they're enrolled in and our district guidelines, to ensure that as many of our students not only promote year to year, but they also are eligible for scholarships and attend college or another equivalent post-secondary option. So we have a team of staff that when we were face-to-face, they were in the buildings, but now we are still supporting the work virtually. Your students you should see them in Microsoft Teams, and you should also see sub-channels where they are receiving support from one or more of the 4 partners that I just named. And as I stated earlier about our notion of ensuring that despite the fact that we're operating in the virtual world, the students are still getting contact with us. I was on 3 chat and choose or mentoring sessions today where we had our partners were sponsoring community persons who were coming in and bringing information to our students to not only give them that academic push, but also that social, emotional edge to assist them with balancing it and being a student that finishes strong. And will continue supporting each of these students all the way through their first year in college. So the 9th grade cohort, they're wrapping up their year as 9th graders, and we'll continue to support them all the way through their first year in college, should they remain at one of the 7 Gear Up sites.
Perfect. So Dr. Davis, if I have a 9th grade student who is at one of the schools in which you mentioned, they're a part of the Gear Up program?
Yes, so every student that is in the cohort is a part of Gear Up. I know a lot of students, especially as we were moving to high school, they were not sure what Gear Up was and wasn't sure about opting to be in. So all students that are in ninth grade at any, first-time ninth graders at any of the 7 sites are automatically a part of the Gear Up cohort. In terms of the level or the depth of service that they receive is granted based on parent consent for with a consent form. Any student within that cohort, when we have field trips, any student is entitled or eligible to attend the field trip based on our field trip guidelines and parent permission slip. So all students are a part of, and again, reaching out to us via Microsoft Teams at your particular school, or you can reach us at gearup@duvalschools.org. gearup@duvalschools.org.
All right, and we'll place that in the comment section for our parents to follow up with that. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. Mr. Wright, could you kindly explain to us the new survey that was released through the Duval County Public Schools to the parents via, I believe, email as it relates to the reopening of schools this fall and the deadline to get that submitted?
Yeah, we're really trying to get as much feedback from parents as decisions are made in regards to what next looks like, whether that's opening of school or whatever's after that. We really just want to make sure we're receiving as much feedback as possible from parents and stakeholders in understanding what their comfort levels are in regards to opening of school or school-based programs once we're allowed to come back to school. Of course, we will have to follow whatever the CDC guidelines are and whatever orders are put out by the local, whether it's local officials or the governor. So we always have to keep in mind that we will follow those guidelines, but also want input while we implement and phase in those guidelines to determine what students and parents are really comfortable with. So that's the most important thing, is just gathering that feedback to help us make decisions in determining what school really is going to look like once decisions are able to be made. We were hoping to get as many responses this week as possible and have messaged those through social media. I know some of the news outlets were putting that information out, as long as our as well as our website and all the other avenues in which we try to get connected with parents.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. So we definitely encourage all parents to fill that out so that they can get as much, the district can have as much feedback as possible as we move forward with the reopening of schools this fall. Mr. Wright, one of the questions that have come up, how does the cancellation of state assessment impact students? If students are taking Algebra 1, biology, geometry this year, and the end of course exam was canceled, will they have an opportunity in the future to take those, or how would that work this year?
Sure. So there were a lot of cancellations. Of course, all the state assessments were canceled. Really, I think one of the biggest impacts is with seniors, and that if they had not met graduation requirements due to one of those assessments, they're waived. So because they may not have had an opportunity to retake an assessment or even take an assessment for a first time, all of those requirements related to graduation for current seniors are waived. But of course, the GPA and credit requirements are still in place. So they still have to earn the minimum 2.0 GPA and then the appropriate credits for whatever their diploma option may be. So that really we would see some students really have the stress of that assessment lifted off of them. So I think that's a positive thing for that senior class. They're missing out on so many other things, but that's one thing that they do not have to worry about. But for those that are not seniors, the graduation requirements are still intact. So they will have to retake an assessment or earn a comparative or concordant score with another assessment. So one of the biggest assessments we have is that 10th grade reading assessment that is a graduation requirement. All those 10th graders did not get an opportunity to take a test this year. So they will all have an opportunity to take a test next year in the fall and then again in the spring. And also will have opportunities to take the SAT and the ACT to earn concordant scores. But even though that test was canceled this year, anyone who's not a senior will have to still take it in the future to earn some other comparative score or just retake the test and get a passing score to meet graduation requirements. And then in regards to the impact on grades, many of the assessments, the end of course exams, whether it's geometry or algebra 1, US history, biology, they count for a percentage of the student's grade. Since those tests were canceled, that no longer is applicable. So there will not be any impact to the student's grade. And then with the district assessments, we canceled all the final exams, all the district end of course exams. So really grades are made up only based on each quarter grade for high school students. So each quarterly grade, it makes up 25% of the total grade. So even if we struggle a little bit during this online Duval homeroom, that's just 25% of the grade. So the first 3 quarters really factor in heavily into what that grade looks like. So we really wanted to be as fair as possible, remove as much stress from students as much as possible during this time, and follow the state and what the state's direction is with their assessments as well. So we just canceled them all and are not having them impact student grades in any way.
Will there be summer school for high school students who did not do well this year? I know that's the question that has come up with some of our parents. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Traditionally, we only offer summer school for 8th graders going to 9th grade or seniors trying to still graduate for credit options, whether they're trying to retake a class because they failed it or trying to increase a GPA or whatever. So for this year, we are going to do the same thing, and any 8th graders that may have missed up to 2 credits can take those courses over the summer that they may need to promote. And same thing for high school seniors. And historically, those programs have been blended mostly online anyway. So that transition is really pretty smooth to continue the at-home learning through the summer school programs, because those were already blended learning anyway, a lot of online interaction.
So to your point, Mr. Wright, will, being that is blended learning, will students have an opportunity this time to keep the laptops over the summer, or would they have to turn those laptops in at a certain time?
Yeah, we're still trying to work through exactly what that looks like. We are in the process of collecting, of course, seniors that are graduating. So we've got plans to collect those laptops. And I'm not as close to that technology side, and I don't want to misspeak, but so I don't want to give a definite answer on what that looks like, but can certainly get that information and follow up with you.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. Dunlap, the number one question that parents have, or the statement that has been made, will I as a parent have the final say if my child promote this year. Can you address that for us tonight?
Absolutely, good question. While we want all of our parents and our guardians to be involved in looking and reviewing their student data, promotion is determined at every grade level by specific requirements that students must meet. If the parents, of course, have questions about it, we do ask them to schedule a conference with the child's teachers. They can invite the principal, the school counselor to that meeting. But if the child is not doing well, they do have the opportunities to, we are going to promote them if they are doing well. The parents do have the right to request the student be retained if they don't feel like they've met all of the standards or have met the requirements that the student was supposed to meet this year, especially during this time, because we have transitioned from the brick and mortar buildings and we're now doing home learning. So the parents do have the right to say, I don't think my child is ready to move forward. I would like for them to be retained. If they feel that way, they do have to put that in writing to the school principal, and the school principal will then have a conference with the teacher, the parent, to look over the student's data to make the best determination on what's best for the student. So while they can't say they want them promoted if they have not met the standards, if the child has met the standard and they want them retained, they do have the option to make that particular request.
Perfect. If my GPA, a student asked this question, if my GPA, high school GPA is bad, how do I recover that? What guidance do you give parents to help them recover that GPA?
So anytime a student makes a D or an F in a class, they do have the opportunity to retake that class.
You still there?
Okay, thought I lost you all. They do, so let me start over. If a student has made a D or an F in a class, they do have the option to retake that particular class. And if they make a C or higher when they retake the class, then it's what we call forgiveness. So we forgive that D or F, and then we count that higher grade in the GPA. So retaking a class can definitely help to increase and improve a GPA for students who have a GPA that they would like to make better.
That's good information to know that students have the option to recover a class that they didn't do well in for a higher grade. That's good information. Thank you. Parent asks, my child is a 9th grader. How many credits do they need to promote this year?
So for 9th grade students at our traditional schools, they can earn up to 8 credits, but to promote, the minimum that they need is 5 credits. And of those 5 credits, at least one of those credits has to be an English or a math credit. So 5 credits with one of those 5 being either an English or a math credit. And that's the minimum promotion. We always tell students, we want you all to pass every class that you're in. So if everything went well for our students who are on the traditional schedules, they should earn 8 credits at the end of the school year.
Can a student take classes on Florida Virtual to recover over the summer? If so, does Algebra 1A count?
That's a very good question. So to answer the question about Florida Virtual as a recovery option in summer, Florida Virtual students can sign up to take a class through Florida Virtual. They, of course, have to create a Florida Virtual account. The parent has to do part of that registration, and then the school counselor has to approve it. What parents sometimes don't quite understand about Florida Virtual is not what we call a recovery option. It is designed for students to take classes in an accelerated format. So as far as like Mr. Wright explained about our students being able to take, for our 8th graders, recovery with Duval, those students are hitting certain standards that they didn't cover through the year. With Florida Virtual, they're going to take that entire class over again, but they do have the opportunity to do that. Parents just need to understand they're going to have to spend 3 or 4 hours a day during the summer to make sure that they can complete those particular credits. The part about Algebra 1A, Florida Virtual School, just like other school districts and everyone in the state of Florida, the schools, they do get to choose their course directory and what courses they're going to offer. To my knowledge, Florida Virtual School does not offer Algebra 1A. So if a student needs to recover Algebra 1A, for the most part, those students are in our 8th grade. So we would have an option through Duval to take the Algebra 1A, but for Florida Virtual School, they do not offer Algebra 1A.
Thank you so much for that. Dr. Davis, we had a follow-up question. My child is currently not attending one of our Gear Up schools. They'll be a 10th grader. Will they have an opportunity to join the Gear Up program? I believe she's muted. Go ahead, Dr. I think she's muted again.
Still muted, yes.
There you go. Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Thanks. Unfortunately, the grant is only at the 7 schools: Rains, Ribault, Lee, Westside, Inglewood, Terry Parker, and First Coast. And so those are the only students that are able to participate in the grant activities, just at those select schools.
I think the question, Dr. Davis, for clarification, if a child is at Jackson currently and they transfer to one of the Gear Up schools, will they have an opportunity in their 10th grade year to be a part of the program?
Yes, absolutely. So we do add to the cohort. So any of the students that transfer in, as long as they meet the requirements of being class of 2023, they are then added to the cohort, yes, and are eligible for all services and activities that the cohort receives.
Okay. I do want to put a plug right here. Parents, again, if you would please sign in on Facebook Live and on Instagram with the link that has been provided to you all. We will greatly appreciate that. Other question we had coming in as they're calling the office and getting their question in as well. Give me one moment. Summer programs, yes. Dr. Davis, can you discuss the summer programs this year as it relates to either Gear Up at this time and what is being offered to our 9th graders at this time?
Yes, thank you. You read my mind. These are going on beginning June 8th. The first activity is a camp, a STEAM camp being led by Florida State College at Jacksonville. And so this is a 6-week-long program that will be conducted virtually. There will be about 90 minutes or so of instruction daily related to each one of the STEAM activities: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we have a schedule of events. There's a flyer and a registration link on our DCPS Gear Up 2023 Facebook and Instagram pages. And if you'll go to either one of those social media platforms now, you'll be able to see the flyer, and it also has a registration link there where you can complete. And we do want to get a hard count as soon as possible, especially for the first week, which starts June 8th. So please sign up. You're able to sign up for multiple weeks. This is completely free. And as I said, we have teachers that are giving instruction and activities around all 5 of those academic areas. The second camp that we have going on is an annual camp as well. And it is going to be the last week in July 27th through July 31st. This will be a virtual camp as well. It's our summer bridge program. So last year, we bridged you from 8th grade to 9th grade. And so this year we'll be bridging you from 9th to 10th. The areas will be enrichment around math, reading, and classroom guidance lessons. So this will be in a virtual format, and it will just connect you and ensure the academics that you left off with 9th grade, that will kind of stir those juices and get you prepared to re-engage with the academics when the school year starts. Again, both are free. We've not pushed out the registration for the summer bridge program yet, but if you'll go to our duvalschools.org/gearup page, that is where you will find updated events as we add that registration link. And as I said about our social media pages, we also will be updating that. And we'll also be messaging you through our Microsoft Teams channels, through the FSCJ channel, as well as our other partners, communities and schools. The University of North Florida isn't supporting us during the summer. They only support us during the regular part of the school year. But we also will have the Amastar Foundation as well. So you have multiple platforms of how to connect and engage with us. And again, submitting any questions you have to gearup@duvalschools.org is a great place as well to submit questions.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Davis. Ms. Dunlap, mental health has been a big concern, and with students being home at this current time with social distancing, is there any support that's being provided via the district to help some of our students cope with social distancing at this time? I think she's muted. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Through our Office of Student Services and Support, we do have mental health services. Currently, our students can still have access to that. We do have a mental health hotline, and I can get that number to you so that you all can share with parents. Students can call that number at any time. They can also reach out to school counselors, just like teachers have set up classrooms in Microsoft Teams. So has counselors, so that students are able to connect with them directly through those Microsoft Teams. They can also, through Teams, make a phone call to a counselor. So we do have those services in place. And once they talk to someone, if a counselor feels like the student needs additional support, we're still able to make referrals out to community agencies to make sure that the students are getting the support they need. Through the environment that we're in now, we do see a lot of our students who are doing virtual therapy and talking with mental health therapists right from their homes. So we do know that it gets challenging sometimes, especially when students don't have the option to socialize anymore. So we want to make sure we're taking care not only of their academic needs, but their behavioral and health needs as well.
Good. And we'll love to have that information so that we can provide to all of our families who are in need, especially as we transition into the summer, for those students who may need it, and along with the families who may need it as well. So we'll love to have that information to share with all of our families. Absolutely. At this time. Thank you so much. Mr. Wright, one of the questions that have come up quite often, being that we know that our teachers are doing an amazing job in this virtual setting. Some parents have some questions as it relates to making sure that their students don't fall through the gap or miss anything as far as additional resources being provided so that they don't fall behind. Can you address that to those parents who want to know what other resources that will be available either over the summer for our parents?
Sure, and that actually kind of goes back and will help me answer your previous question about the computers, which is related to your question. So students, unless of course they're leaving the district, students are able to keep their computers. I was able to text Mr. Colbert and confirm that. So if students are planning on returning to Duval County Public School next year, they are able to keep their computer over the summer, and which allows them continued access to some of the available resources. Students will have access to all of their blended learning resources that they currently have access to, whether that's iReady or Achieve 3000 or Penda or any other resource that their school or teacher may be utilizing. Students can continue to access those resources over the summer if they are not in the 8th grade or 12th grade participating in a summer school program. There are programs at the elementary school that will be at the elementary level that will be happening over the summer as well. So that information is going to go out to parents if it hasn't already, but I know our audience is mostly at the high school level. So all of those blended learning resources will be available for them to utilize as needed, along with the laptop throughout the summer.
Perfect, thank you. In this time of social distancing, and I know we are following the CDC guidelines, I have a student who's currently in high school, and whoever want to take the question, their items are still located in the lockers. How will students be able to retrieve their items as we close out the school year? And what process is currently in place for that to happen?
Sure. Schools are in the process of working with their teachers and students to return to campus to pick up their items. Most schools, it's kind of a school-based decision on exactly what that system looks like. Most schools are doing a grade level alphabet, date, and time for them to come pick up. School staff has been collecting the materials or items left in the lockers, or whether it's a gym locker or a hall locker or whatever, and placing them in bags with their names on it, so that they've been doing drive-through pickups to pick up those items. And so I would just ask that parent reach out specifically to their school to find out the school specific plans, but each school does have plans for students to be able to come pick up those things.
Perfect. Dr. Davis, my child is in Gear Up. They have a liaison at this current time, or someone who works with them. Will that continue over the summer as it relates to the connection with those students?
Yes, so we've developed a plan with each of our partners wherein connection just for well-being, and not to lose the rhythm and the traction that we've gained in this pandemic. I think one of the terms that I've pinned is just building that virtual teams and checking the general channel or messaging their liaison to either get updates or to ask questions. Our hope is that we'll be a warm face as well as a cheerleader on the side as we all get through this together.
Thank you so much. We are exactly at 6:45 right now, and I do thank you and appreciate your time. As we close out, I think we have addressed all of the questions our parents have had and have either emailed us, called in, and shared with us. At this time, we definitely want to thank you, Dr. Davis, Mr. Wright, Ms. Dunlap, Ms. Burney, for joining us tonight. Is there one tip that you want to leave with our families as we enter the last stretch, the finish line, that you want to share with our parents to help them get over to May the 29th? Ms. Dunlap, I'll let you go first, and then Dr. Davis and Mr. Wright, and then Ms. Burney, if you would take that final question. Ms. Dunlap?
So definitely, as we finish up this last week and a half, or less than a week and a half now, I encourage parents to stay involved. If they have questions, they can reach out to their schools, reach out to the teachers to make sure that they understand everything that needs to happen by the last day of school. So the most important thing is to stay connected with the school. Make sure they're checking the school's website. I know that we're still doing a lot of phone calls, robocalls to families. So if they can't answer the phone, making sure they go back and check those messages, and emails. A lot of information is shared via email and the district's website. and follow the district on social media. We do have a Facebook and an Instagram page that's full of great information for families.
Thank you so much. Dr. Davis?
Echo everything Ms. Dunlap said, and to add on, I'm a mom. I have an elementary age student and adult children, and so I think from that perspective that you're being funneled with a lot of information, and that it's important to sift through and take those pieces that you feel are most important to you. So in terms of helping your students finish and transition, but also I'm thinking through these next few days. So if you're working from home, or if you're having to leave the house, figuring out what that plan is that is going to ensure that your student still remains safe and has some type of academic plan to grow during the summer. So a month, some type of daily reading plan, so that this is not idle time. And I recognize that it's difficult, especially because we've been at this for a while, that it seems like things are shut down, and kids want the school year to end and feel like learning should end. But that is not what my household looks like. The school year will end, but there's still an obligation to keep your brain stirring and working, so that you don't lose traction just because everything is shut down. And the other thing that I say is to also figure out some type of treat for yourselves. So whether it's going for a drive, or whether it's going to get a smoothie, something that just kind of lifts your family spirits, so that you're not, that you don't succumb to going to a low place that is difficult to recover back from. So finishing the school year strong, remaining academically active, and then also treating yourself in some way that's safe and that includes the whole family. I know I've definitely enjoyed the additional time that I've had to connect with my family. And so I just wish each of you well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. Mr. Wright?
I think one thing that I always I hear my wife tell my children is control the things that you can control. Don't stress over the things you can't control. There's so many situations right now that we really don't have control over, but take that in, accept it, and take advantage of the things that you can control. You right now, these last week of school, you can control getting those last assignments turned in. You can control finishing up whatever project you need to finish up, and take advantage of the time that you do have left in the school year, and just don't stress over the things that you don't have control over. Make sure you're taking care of your mental health and are taking those breaks. Dr. Davis just had some great examples, but go for a walk, take a break while everybody's under the same roof in a lot of cases, and in the same space. Make sure you take a break away from the screens and away from the technology, and really connect also to really just make sure you're staying mentally healthy through all of this. Everything's not going to be perfect, and you can't control everything. So just do the best with what you can control is what I would say. And we don't know what the fall's going to bring. We are all really hopeful that things come back to normal, but there's, I think, just going to be a new reality at the end of all of this, that nothing will be exactly the same as what it was, and we just have to accept that change is coming, and if it's not already here. So do your best to start to make those changes yourself, and just control what you can control.
Perfect. Great advice. Ms. Burney?
Well, first, I'd just like to thank Dr. Davis. I'd like to thank Mr. Corey Wright, and I'd like to thank Ms. Wendy Dunlap. What a wonderful opportunity for parents to be able to get information, because this, even though we are shut up and we're not able to touch each other physically, these three individuals have actually virtually touched parents and provided them with information and empowerment. So for me, with regards to telling you what to do to finish strong, I don't have any kids in my house with me. I'm an empty nester, But I can say this, I would ask parents to do the 3 C's. First of all, be your child's coach, which means that you parents between now and the 29th, and then going forward, make sure that you're after your child to make sure that he or she has just what is needed in order to finish strong. Sometimes they may get lax. Sometimes they may say, oh, it may not matter, but you're the coach. So you got to get them pepped up. You got to get them hyped up. And then you're their cheerleader. I encourage you to be your child's biggest cheerleader, to tell them what they can do. And the reality is they can do anything. They can do any and everything that they set their minds to. And then the third thing I would suggest in finishing strong and getting prepared for the summer and the fall is to be the connector. Parents, you can connect and get everybody, if you're all under the same roof, get everybody together. I encourage families to do this thing that I do called a one word. What is your one word as a family that you're going to use between now and the 29th and now and whenever school opens? So when things look rough or things look as if you can't go any further or they look hopeless, fall back on your one word. Use your one word to propel each other to the next level. And I am just looking for whatever the school year brings. You have shown me, Duval County has shown me that you're up for the challenge. So I'd like to also give kudos to our superintendent for being the leader and making sure that kids are connected, that kids are able to get what they need done. And then I'd just like to thank all of you, and especially to our teachers out there. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you so much. So as we close out this evening, parents, again, remember to sign in on Facebook Live and also on our Instagram so that we can connect with you even over the summer. Again, we will rebroadcast this on Facebook and Instagram because a lot of valuable information has been shared by our panelists tonight. And we want to make sure that you share that with others in the community so that they can be empowered as well. All of the questions that were submitted, we were able to address tonight. So we thank our panelists for doing that and doing an excellent job with that. So again, kudos to Mr. Wright, Dr. Davis, and Ms. Dunlap for accepting our invitation tonight and sharing with our parents. Again, we will share this on our social media page along with I know other platforms as well. And that being said, we thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to continuing to serve you in the months and weeks to come. Have a great night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.